Good afternoon. My name is Dakota Tidwell. This is for SDI's FTH 202 Revolvers. Week 4 is what we're on, and for part 1, I'm getting a baseline trigger pull measurement on the revolver and sharing it with you guys. So in double action, it's going way past the 12-pound mark. If I had to guess, it'd be right around 13. It stayed pretty consistent within the 3 pulls, and then in single action, it's right around 7 to 7.5. So we're going to move on to part 2. I'm going to disassemble the firearm, add some layout fluid to a couple of the weared parts, put it back together, run through the cycle of operations, and we'll see what's getting wore there. All right, so I went ahead and I took apart the firearm, looked at some rust spots on it where it looked like it was rubbing, coated them with some of the Dicom Steel Blue layout fluid, which kind of turns everything blue. As you can see, I kind of coated the back of the base on this here. This actually was a high side. There was actually burrs sticking off this side plate cover, which was rubbing into the hammer. And I actually polished a couple areas on the hammer there where burrs were sticking up. And while I was doing everything, I actually had a little bit of a burr inside of the actual frame here, kind of right in here. There's actually a burred side right there where it actually looked like steel had been rolled over on this and painted and everything, so I went ahead and fixed that as well. But everything else inside the firearm looks good. It's not really worn on or anything like that, so I didn't touch anything there. So mainly just the hammer and the plate itself. So I'm going to put it back together and then come back and we'll do another trigger pull test. Alright, so I got it back together now. We're going to run through the cycle of operations, see how much smoother it is, and then do a couple trigger pulls here. So first things first, firearm is clear, nothing in the barrels whatsoever. Everything is good there. I'm going to close this back. Just off rip, cycling it here. Definitely feels a lot smoother, not so much that the trigger is lighter. So it definitely feels a lot smoother than it did. So we'll go ahead and do a couple trigger pulls here. I'm going to do single action first, trigger pulls. Here is 1, right at 7. Here is 2, right at 7 again. There is 3. And then that one's actually a 7.5. Okay, and then now I'm going to do double action. Still at 12. Still at 12. And still at 12. So still reading about the same. It's definitely, like I said, a lot smoother. The hammer itself doesn't feel as crunchy anymore. Trigger doesn't feel near as crunchy at all either. So everything feels a lot better. Just it hasn't really made a difference in the trigger pull. So we'll go on to the next step here. All right, I'm back again. I missed a part on the questionnaire there. What do I think I could have done differently to make this any smoother? Honestly, nothing. I believe that if you don't have to take any metal off of a firearm, you shouldn't take any off there at all. So I didn't want to take any more off of here than what I had already done. And everything else seemed to be in proper working order, as far as not really scheming past each other real hard or anything like that. So the components I did take metal off of, it's because they needed it. So I feel like I did everything I could to make it as smooth as I could before going to the next step. All right, so redisassembled the firearm, put the firearm back together with the spring kit that was offered to us by SDI. Reduced power spring kit. Before I get started, firearm is clear, barrel is clear, light passing through, you can see. Alright, so now we're going to get some more readings off of this here. Gauge set at 0. I'm going to do double action first, so we will. Alright, well, so that actually brought that down to right at 11. It's about 11 1/4. And 11 1/4 again. So right at about 11 pounds. So that's pretty good. It dropped it down about 2 pounds. And then now we're going to do it in a single action. So before we were reading at 7. Five and a half. Do it again. 5 1/2. And 5 1/2. So they dropped it about 2 pounds on the trigger spring set there, which made it a whole lot better there. So I like that. Alright, so yeah, about it's averaging about 2.5 pounds difference. Alright, so now I'm going to demonstrate headspace. So headspace on these basically means the space in between the back of the frame of the revolver here and the actual cylinder itself. So using no go gauges, I have the go gauge in there right now, which means that this should close and should not hit the back of this. It should turn freely. So again, cylinders are clear other than the go gauge there. Everything else is good. I'm going to go ahead and close this and show that it closes properly. And it does. Closes and seats flush. And now I'm going to just cycle it around, make sure that everything turns properly. And you can see the go gauge right there. Okay, so everything cycles all the way through. Pop that out. Going to put in the no-go gauge. Okay, and then if the head spacing is right, it should not allow this thing to close with this in here. So okay, so right there already. It's hitting. It won't allow us to close at all. So that's an issue. Obviously, that means that the head spacing is off on this pretty far. Or I should say that it's right on point. It's good. So no go gauge won't go in. Go gauge will go in. Double check a couple cylinders here. Yeah, that won't allow that to go in at all. Just so you can see, it won't allow it to seat at all. Nothing will go in there. Whatsoever. Okay. All right, and then I reckon that's it for this week. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in week 5.